Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission for Thursday, May 4th. In attendance are regulars member Goldenzi, Leskovitz, Ancian, and Dulac. First order of business, excuse me, are the meeting minutes from April 20th, which were in the packet. If you didn't get one, if you didn't get them, I can give you a copy. Do you want to take a chance, if you haven't had a chance, to take a quick look at them?
Yeah, I got the packet, finally.
Which one?
I got
From January?
I got Wednesday, I got this meeting, and I got the prior meeting. Together.
I got mine Saturday.
Yeah, I got mine Tuesday.
Oh, that's good. Well, we mailed them the week before, so.
Yeah, it's not you, clearly. It's getting hung up somewhere.
Anybody want to make a motion if we're good with them?
I make a motion to accept the minutes of meeting for April 20th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes 4-0. Next order of business is the zoning and subdivision regulations.
Okay, so at the last meeting, we went over the proposed zoning amendments. And I believe that it was left that everyone was okay with the changes with the exception of the lighting for the flags. I've drafted, so I've kind of taken that out. I'm taking it off the table for this point in time. For the subdivision regulations, we had Chief Seward present and talk about what he would like to see as far as requirements and different triggers. The original proposal was 3 homes or 3 lots or 3,000 square feet, whichever is, whatever happens first. So I did make those changes to reflect actually increasing it to 5 because after some discussion with the commission felt like going up to 5 or more lots is appropriate and taking out the 3,000 square foot requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been changed. I also included in your packet some comments from Bob Wiedemann, who is a developer with Sunwood Development, and he's actually here this evening. I don't know if he wants to speak to some of those comments, but the public hearing is still open.
Can I ask a question? So we had some conversation also about at what point do we require like a second storage tank for water? That make it into the draft, or is that
I did not.
really?
I wasn't sure what language you would like to see, so I didn't make any changes. I can, obviously. I'm just not sure what you'd like it to say.
Carrie, the one thing about the flag, I know you took it out. Did I? I pulled the CRS, Congressional Research Service report to Congress on the United States flag, federal law related to display and associated questions from John R. Lucky, legislative attorney, American Law Division. And it states that the American flag should just be treated with respect when lit. And it's my understanding that a new set of regulations are going to be coming out. So why don't we adhere to this congressional report until such time as the new regulation comes out and we could address it then? So how do we handle that?
Well, let me ask, when you say you left that out, you mean we're tabling that?
I did not make any, so I did not make any
Oh, you didn't make any
changes
changes.
to the regulations. So the proposal was to change the regulations to
Okay, I
state
see. I'm
clearly
sorry.
that,
Gotcha.
that flags were an exception and could be uplit.
Yes.
I think that
That's what it says, that there's an allowance for that now.
that's what the proposal said.
That's what the proposal, right, so it,
So I removed that, I just left everything as is.
We can do that too.
Why don't we, just as an option, we can give that to Carrie,
Mm-hmm.
and then in our next packet, we can give that so we can read through this and see. I mean, unless,
You know, a quick synopsis is it has to be lit and treated with respect. That's it.
that's all it's in there?
That's all.
Oh, 'cause
But
it'll-
there's other regulations about displaying it and stuff
Oh,
like
okay,
that.
all right, all right.
so is that,
let's
is
pass that down to Carrie.
the official?
It's the report to Congress. But I understand a new report's coming out with some slight changes, and I'm not sure if it's addressing lighting.
Oh, yeah, this one.
But what's the official position?
Can be lit
It's
with
gotta be-
Well, I'm just saying, this is just a,
It's
You know,
federal law.
it's a government document, and there's, you know, it references
it's-
other references on and on. But the bottom line is, it has to be lit and treated with respect, and that's the bottom line. Uplit, downlit, and if it's lit bottom up, the light has to be on the flag, not shooting into your neighbor's yard.
Mhm.
You know, the key is the respect is to the flag. And I think that covers it.
And, we could act on we can also act on the regulation, whatever changes we want, and then if there's something else that comes out that contradicts it, we can redo that as well. So we have a couple different options.
So are you leaving people in limbo that have them lit this way?
that's,
Well, it wouldn't be anybody that has one lit now, it wouldn't affect them. It'd be
Right, it
just
would
for the
Even if
future.
it's,
It would be more for going forward, so if we received a site plan application and someone has a flag on their site plan and they're showing it being uplit, we could say, okay, with the change.
with the
It could be
change,
lit
that
eith-
would be okay. Right, okay.
Yeah, that, we won't have a regulation that it has to be top down or from the
Right.
side or anything like that. As long as it's lit.
Mhm. The wording that I had was lighting for the American flag may deviate from these standards, but shall not produce disability glare nor create a
Mhm.
nuisance for abutting properties or residents of the area.
Well, let's continue that tabled. I mean, because, I think it
Yes.
needs a little more discussion. I mean, yeah, there's other things we want to add in there.
Did we, so I'll go back to the storage tank for fire suppression. We said 5.
right,
Then we also I said 13 only because of the cul-de-sac loop road. After 12, you have to have, after 12 homes, you need to have an in and out. So if we had it 5 or more than 13, you would need a second storage.
I hate to say this, but the more I think about it, do we in fact need these cisterns at all? The chief said, we have
Well-
the tanker trucks, we've got
You don't have a place
we
to
have the
get the
portable
water.
ponds.
Yeah. Still have to get the water though.
The key is, where are we putting we can put.
Right now, he has limitations to like Lane's Pond in another area.
Right.
So
We
the
can put
more
it,
places he can go, the better for everyone.
we can put it in as a suggestion, not a requirement.
But then there's
And-
no sense of putting it in.
right.
And the key is, there's, you know, Farm River zigzags under 17 and 22, yet we don't have any dry stands for a tanker to pull up to. I'm talking about Nordford. There's no dry stands that the town or the fire department thought to put in.
I think
When they can
that's-
pull, when they
that's
can
just
pull
too-
water out of the river.
That's too,
But it's gotta be
that's
a
too
few feet.
inconsistent, you know?
Yeah, but
Spring it's flowing, in the summer it's not. So he has to have a certain depth. You can't
Farm
suck
River
silt.
flows. It's Farm River.
Yeah, I don't know if you can, I don't know, who knows?
And I guess-
You might not be able to tap out of it.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, if the town hasn't
only-
gone and checked whether we can do that or not, now we're putting the onus on landowners, homeowners, small developments, that this, in the report here, it said, we were using a figure of 25,000, when in fact it's 30,000.
Well, well, I mean, we don't know, I mean, it's somewhere around there.
Not,
And I guess I'm saying, we don't know. We got 25, 30,000, yet we don't have a problem put the onus on the landowners, when in fact, if they have the option of doing it, the decision should be theirs.
Well, the option is they can have
The-
their house built with all the protections, and then there's, but I mean, the whole reason for this is because when you do have those places in Northford developments, and you need water for a fire, you don't, you're only protecting the people of, the one-time cost to protect the people that live there.
But we have the portable ponds and tankers that are not a problem. They handle the problem.
but you have to get water to them, and you need to go get the water. That's the thing.
We have the tankers. Are we gonna get rid of the tankers now?
No, of course not. But when you reference a portable thing, you have to fill the things. You have to fill it from something.
We have a volunteer fire department that,
So what I'm saying is you come from your tanker, you fill the portable thing, then that truck has to go somewhere and refill the water. So right now, we're very limited to where you can go. So by having more, it'll help everyone. It'll help the fire department, clearly. The only other thing I have to
You
say,
know-
not that I'd like to reference too much of other towns, but I think it's appropriate that we do, and I think it's kind of aligning and coming consistent with other towns. I mean, other towns have these things, right? It's not like we're standing out like a sore thumb.
Right, well,
but
and-
the chief did say, we are not in jeopardy. What we have right now, we are not in jeopardy of your water supply or anything like that. The trucks have to run. We have the trucks.
So looking at other towns, Guilford has the number of lots triggering the fire suppression system at 7.
7.
And the size tank required is 30,000 gallons. Madison, it's 10 with 30,000 gallons. In Killingworth, it's not stated. That was like open to the chief to decide, what's appropriate. And in Lebanon, it's 5 lots and a 15,000 gallon tank.
So we're at 5 at 10?
Mhm.
5 at 10.
And Shantz is 30 homes with a 10,000 gallon tank. And that was just agreed upon between the fire chief and the town, or, developer and the town. Because we didn't have anything in our regulations.
And that was the choice of the developer to put it in. It wasn't a requirement.
What was it?
Or it couldn't be required.
didn't have-
We didn't have a requirement,
Right.
so they chose to do it. Yet there was another piece of property on Totoket Road where they chose not to do it.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah.
3 homes,
Yes.
fewer homes.
But if it was,
Yeah.
but if it was a choice, if there was a choice, it would have been the fire chief and would have recommended it because of where it is. There's nowhere to pull water from over there. And so, I mean, you could say, okay, if it's on 17 or 22, yeah, you have some flexibility. But on some of the roads, very tight, it might take a truck to leave and go fill up quite a bit longer on some of those roads. So, we don't know where it's gonna affect, what properties it's gonna affect, but the idea of, being able to get it quicker and more accessible, and, to lead to some, health, public safety, the ownership, it does go on the property building.
I hear what you're saying about public safety, but that is not an issue right now. The cisterns will be an additional to the portable ponds and the tankers that we have.
Right.
So
But, I mean, how about down the road where there is an issue and then it becomes an issue? And it's too late, we can't do anything about it because something already happened. It's preventative. I mean, that's what it is.
Right, I think it should be the choice of the developer, homeowner.
Well, I think what unfortunately happens is when you're a developer and a homeowner, choices come down to finances, and it's, I think, the job of us to take that variable out and be a little bit more objective versus subjective.
Just for the record, I forgot to note that you were here. Now seeing it's just me.
I have.
Sorry,
You snuck in.
I had a tantrum issue of why my daughter has a red dress with blue shoes and not red shoes.
I agree with
Somehow.
Trish, you know,
I do too.
they're talking about, let's say it costs $30,000, and we set it at $5,000. It's $6,000 a house. So,
And I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, I lived on Gale Drive. The house, a couple of houses down, burned. Did it burn to the ground or enough of it burned? But we're lucky over there because we have hydrants. And when I was growing up, the house burned down, and thankfully it was mitigated because there was a hydrant. But it does happen in our town, and it could happen with fireplaces if people store the ashes not where they should, or hot ashes. I think having a death after the fact to spur us into action is quite different than taking action now.
So on the regulation itself, or the wording on it, whether, you know, is the wording acceptable?
So my only concern, and I think Fran raised it, is, so I think if it's limited to cul-de-sac loop road, I
Well,
can't say
it's
that,
not,
loop
yeah.
roads, no, I know that, I'm saying if it only was, and we're only talking 12, but I don't even know if this kind of property exists, but if you have an in and out, it's not limited. Except
The
by
way it's-
acreage limited, but you could put, say, 40 houses, and
Right.
one is not gonna
Yeah.
maybe be enough, so.
Well, I did.
So we had something in there, but it's not in there, and I just
Well,
wanna,
yeah,
I wanna
so
ask,
we
that's why I was
had a-
asking,
yeah, so we
is
had-
that something we wanna put in there?
So I think what we talked about last night was 5 to 12 was 10,000 gallons, and 10 plus we were going to 20.
13 plus, yeah.
13 plus, yeah, I'm sorry, 13 plus was going to 20.
Okay,
well,
that's what I was asking, because it's not in there now.
But the only thing I'm gonna, because we're talking about the fire chief and the property after 17, Schwantz's property, they only have a 10 for 30.
Mm-hmm.
And the chief was okay with that, so I'm just putting that out there. Not trying to sway what to put in there, but I'm just putting that out as a point.
And also, how much land will we be taking? Because the regulation says for the cistern and appropriate for maintenance and replacement. So is that 100-foot square?
Well, it's up to the engineer, or whoever's engineering them.
I think one
I
of the
mean,
questions.
it's whatever it might be, but it's, I'm not sure,
Sometimes you
I'm not
need-
sure, I mean, how.
You know, if we're making a regulation, we have to make a regulation. We're not passing it off to an engineer.
Well, yeah, it is, we do, the whole site plan is
You
defined.
you have
by
the
engineer.
regulation, they figure out how to fit it.
Yeah.
It's just
I
like a
mean, as long as it's
retention
10,000
basin.
gallons,
Mhm.
You
know.
develop a
They
subdivision, you need a retention basin or something, that the engineer has to fit it in there somewhere. It's not, we don't fit it in there, they fit it
Well,
in
the
there.
other issue was maintenance. Who maintains this now?
I think the chief said he would.
Yep.
Right, well, at least the most recent one up at Shantz is maintained by the town, and it's on land trust property. And that's a unique case because there's so much open
Right.
space surrounding it that may happen with other subdivisions where with the open space requirement, it would be deeded possibly to the town or to the land trust, and that's likely where the cistern
I don't
would
know
be,
how much
but-
maintenance and actually they would need, but I would think they'd have to be tested every so often to make sure that's got water in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what he said he does.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
not sure how often it would be, but that would, I mean, I'm sure they would have some kind of schedule, you know.
What's the
Well,
expense?
I think kind of that should be in, maybe, that these, what do you call them?
Cisterns?
Yeah, cisterns would be maintained by the town fire department or whatever. So there's no question later, you have a new fire chief, why should I do it? The property owners.
I hear what you're saying, but do our regulations go that far to actually say?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I
And the
completely understand what you're
challenge-
saying, but it doesn't seem like something
Right.
a
But- and
regulation would say.
The biggest challenge is that, again, these are subdivision regulations, so it's really just, you're looking at a point in time when something is constructed. It's not like our zoning regulations where we have a zoning officer to enforce them. With subdivision regulations, this body would be the enforcer. So
Who
I
would
don't.
be the enforcer?
The
We
Planning
are.
and Zoning Commission, as opposed to the zoning officer, because with subdivision regulations,
So,
it's, you know, like a
You're
one
saying
time.
is that the Planning and Zoning Commission would be in charge of making sure that these are tested?
If that's what you wanna put in here, and I just don't know how we would
Yeah,
enforce
I mean,
that.
I don't either, because first place, it shouldn't be our obligation.
Right, and you see the language in here, you know, it says, for example, number 5, the subdivision developer shall be responsible for the entire installation, including but not limited to site preparation, site security, and traffic control. And all of these things that are listed are like one-time things, so
Right.
once they're constructed, then it's over, because for ongoing monitoring,
No,
I just don't
they
know
should-
who
yeah.
would do that, because again, these wouldn't fall under the zoning officer's responsibilities.
So you're saying you can't put a line in there that says these will be maintained by the fire department or the town or?
Well, what you could say is they would have to be, owned by the town, so there would have to be a, you know, they would take on ownership of them, but then maintaining them would be up to the chief to run,
I don't know.
you know, cause I don't know how we would enforce that.
Yeah, and I understand that.
I can call some other towns and find out how it works in their communities to make sure that
And-
they are maintained.
Right, and find out what the life expectancy of these tanks are.
We asked him that, and he seemed to think forever that they wouldn't leak.
The new
I-
construction, right. The
Do you
older-
recall? Bob may have some
Oh.
input. He put one in.
Just for the record, Bob Weenwood Jr. from Sunwood Development. Is this on okay?
I don't think so.
I just couldn't tell if I can't hear it.
Doesn't sound like it is.
Did you put
Is there a
the
switch?
Go ahead.
Check.
Fiddle with some things over here.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, that's yours.
Doesn't sound like it's on.
Just
That's on.
I can hear you now.
No, I think
Yeah.
that was Janet.
Anything now? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
If not, just speak loud.
Oh,
It's,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
you can hear good.
Okay.
There she
This is the
is.
green.
So I'm not sure what the life expectancy is. Basically, if it's holding water, there's no maintenance to it, other than
Yeah.
maintaining it. There may be a small amount of evaporation, so they may have to refill it annually just to check it. But being that most of them are solid concrete, that's what ours was. Built like a commercial bridge type structure, so I'm thinking you got 50 to 100 years.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm sure the concrete's gonna deteriorate and something would happen to it.
Mhm.
From a liability standpoint, I don't think you'd want to put the burden on the developer, because quite honestly, we're gonna be long gone.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the town you'd want the town to be responsible, make sure. I don't think we could take on the liability if it leaked and then there were a fire, and there was no
Right.
water in the tank.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be long gone at that point. I don't think you'd want to put the burden on the homeowners either.
No, that's why I say I thought it should be somewhere stated that the fire department will check them and make sure that they haven't
Well, yeah, I think, yeah.
leaked or evaporated or
I think that would
whatever
make
they
sense.
do.
In our situation, we had open space and the detention pond's very close to the road, so they were very accessible. Now, on certain properties, you might have a detention pond in the back of the houses, so you wouldn't have the cistern in that area. You're gonna need it accessible to the road, within, I think they wanted it between 10 and 20 feet, the connection for the trucks.
Yeah.
So you need it really close to the road, so it could be done on an easement, either in open space or on an individual lot. But it might affect, as someone mentioned, could affect your lot yield if you need, the tank itself is about 20-foot square, so you probably need an easement at least 50 feet by 50 feet in order to ever have to dig it up and remove it or repair it or something in the future. So that would just be something to consider. I don't have a lot of comments. You have my comments, so if you have questions, I'm happy to answer, but I just felt it important that from the development side, we at least commented on your
Yeah.
proposed regulations, but I'm not gonna spend a lot of time unless you have questions for me.
Good, thanks.
One thing about the liability, maybe we don't want to, and the fire departments, that's their plan to check the water levels. But I don't think we should put anything in the regulation.
I don't think we can. Right, we
Well,
don't.
I'll check with other towns as well,
Yeah.
but I didn't see anything.
Now, did you want to add about going larger?
I was merely bringing that up to make sure everyone, because the current language doesn't have it.
Right.
So if we felt that was important.
So as Bob just mentioned, if it's 10,000 gallon tank, it's 20 by 20. So it's gonna be 40 by 40 for double that.
Two, yeah.
So.
Well, do we feel, if the fire commissioner said on the other property that the 10 was sufficient, then why should we burden them with a bigger one? I don't know.
I mean, I would tend to agree with that as well. But it's just me and you guys. Anybody have any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I would tend to defer to the fire chief, who has 30 years of experience from being a firefighter in New Haven, or however many he had.
Well, he recommended 10.
Correct, I
So
tend
if
to
he
defer to
was
his
happy with
experience.
that,
Yeah.
why should we burden the,
All right, so-
Unless he
Builder
could give
with-
us more just data on who goes bigger and why, or for how many houses, so we just have more data to make our decision on. I mean, we could request more data from him.
Yeah, he was good. I think he was good with the 10,000 when we were
Mhm.
talking.
because we do have tankers, but this is in case there's an area that, God forbid, is catastrophic and they go through that water, because the way he explained it, the water goes through quite quickly.
Mhm.
And at least it has someplace close to fill up again.
Buy some time.
We also have mutual aid where we can pull tankers in from other towns.
Oh, right, we know that, yeah.
So this is still open, do you wanna?
So we wanted to add, Bill, is 5 the number?
Yeah, the 3 was a little too small.
Okay.
And at least 5, as I say, if a tank cost, let's say it cost 30,000, that increases the cost of the house by $6,000-7,000, which I don't think is gonna make the difference of a sale. Since that's an asset for the builder to sell.
I would think. Especially with no hydrants and things like that, yeah. Right, well, are we good with this one, or at least for
Yeah.
that conversation? Where else we wanna go?
Well, so it's open for public comment.
Oh, I was gonna just review them all and then open them up, right?
That was everything. I
Okay.
think.
Would anybody like to speak on any of these amendments?
Which amendments are we talking about, the fire department?
Oh, the whole list of them, the ones that we were gonna change.
Okay, so to speak about the
So, I want to speak about the storage tanks in a subdivision for water. So the first thing is, we've already done this, and it failed miserably. So there's several of them around town. The fire department says we wouldn't even hook up to them now. There was one, I'm not exactly sure where it was, and, shortly after it was put in, there was a fire, they hooked up to it, it was empty. So we gotta be real careful about, they weren't concrete tanks.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and by the way, I'm Al Rose, 40 Valley Road. So that's the first thing is, we wanna be real careful about it. About, certainly the maintenance of them. The second thing that I want to speak to is the number of lots that you're thinking about doing it on. I respectfully disagree with Mrs. Leskovich on adding to the cost of the house. What it does is takes it out of the landowner's pocket. As a developer for years, we always looked at it, what are the regulations in town, what's it gonna cost us to develop it, and that determined the price that we were willing to pay for the property. Bob can speak, to that as well, and maybe he looked at it differently, but that's the way that we always looked at it.
But,
So
sorry,
what that
Al.
does, what's that?
I don't mean to
You're not
interrupt
following
you.
me? So what I'm saying is
No,
this.
I understand what
I'm
you're
saying as a
saying.
landowner.
Yeah,
and,
but you're selling the land.
That's correct.
Um,
And
uh,
and so you're selling the land that a developer wants to.
Okay, so then the developer buys it for X amount of money.
Right.
Now, he's gonna determine what price house he can put
That's
up
correct. You
to
can
make
put
a profit.
we all know that you can put a number, whatever you want on your property.
Exactly.
It
but-
goes on the market and you don't have to accept it, but if you needed to sell it, the developer's gonna have all these costs in there that he's gonna say, well, I'm gonna offer you this much.
But
Because
wouldn't-
I have to do this, I have to do this, I
Wouldn't
have
the
to do this.
builder be responsible putting in these cisterns?
Absolutely.
Right.
But
So
as
that's
a
what I'm saying
landowner,
would
just
go the
like
cost
you,
of the house.
as a landowner, just like you, we go to sell our land, and I'm gonna use my own mother as an example. And why I think that 5 lots is a little bit low. Because these water tanks aren't for these 5 new houses.
No.
These are for a street that has no water. So remember this, our fire chief stood before the town council and got, all the money he needed to buy a tanker for every station. He stood there and said, the tankers carry enough water to save lives. After the tankers are out of water, it's pretty much, the fire is so bad, you're not, no matter how much water you had. And, who knows how a fire's gonna go. But that's why all the taxpayers in town, we bought a tanker for every department. So now we had a 7-acre parcel of land that was in my mom's family for well over 200 years. And as a landowner, and anyone that owns land, we all know that our land is our money in the bank. Not so much these last few years, but from the beginning of this country until a few years ago, there were those people who cashed out their land and used their money elsewhere. There's those people who kept their land, paid taxes on it every year and figured this is my retirement, this is whatever. So we had a 7-acre parcel that was left of my mom's family's farm, and she wanted to develop it and sell lots for her grandchildren. So she kept my grandmother's house and got 3 additional lots in the 1-acre zone. The town already took $18,000, $6,000 a lot for open space. So if we take another $25,000 for a tank on a 3-lot piece, that's another $8,000 coming out of the lot. So, as a developer, you know that you have these costs. You're not thinking, oh, I can add this on. You're gonna beat up the landowner. But so having said that, you have to remember too, as a zoning board, and Bob can attest to this too, as a developer, I sold building lots in Guilford for $250,000. We sold them in this town for $140,000. The lot across the street from this subdivision I'm talking about was on the market for 2 years, and it sold for $65,000. So we don't have these real estate values, and the landowners don't have these real estate values to fund the whole water system for a whole block or something, because you're, in my mind, or in my opinion, you're taking it out of the landowner, or at least 50-50 with the developer. They may be able to pass something on in a house, but we're taking it out of the landowner and a family that may have had the land for years. And now all of a sudden they have to fund this. And then the only other comment I'll make, why would you, I don't see any reason that you would have to go, and I don't know what the fire department said, why would you need to go bigger than 10,000 gallons? You could have a 1,000 lot subdivision, odds are one house is on fire.
We already.
Especially in this
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
especially in this town. It isn't like they're touching each other. So I'm not sure you really need to look at going any bigger than a 10,000 gallon
Yeah,
tank.
the fire chief was on, he said the only time that something may occur is if you had a number of houses that were very, very close together,
Mhm.
and if one was on fire, you.
Totally
You
agree.
have to worry about both sides. Yes, but most of the subdivisions that, we
We have
have.
quite a bit of
you-
space.
It's gonna be one event, or
Okay.
one, yeah, so.
All right.
We already
That's all my
kind of agreed on that.
comments.
But before you leave out, again, as a landowner, you're gonna sell a piece of land.
For all you can get.
Exactly. What does that got to do with putting the cistern in?
Because
I mean, I don't
as a
understand why
developer
you
looking
feel
to buy
that the
from you,
landowner is
he's
paying
gonna look
for
at
it.
all the cost he's gonna incur to develop your piece of property.
It's gonna pass it on to the landlord.
But in my estimation, that the person that's building the houses would now divide that amount up, if it's 10,000 or whatever it is, 30,000, he would divide it up amongst the houses he's gonna build. I don't know what that
And
has to do
you,
with the
you
landowner.
could, but see, I've developed, hundreds of lots. How many have you developed? So I'm telling you, I'm showing you a different perspective on how you look at it. You don't go in there, so if you look at your cost and say, hey, this land is worth this much because I have to build put 25,000 into a cistern, you're not gonna go in there and say, I'm gonna get it on the other end. You're gonna tell the poor old landowner, you know what, the town's saying, you're not gonna get 5 lots. I gotta take 5,000 a lot off the cost,
Okay, I
because you're
see
gonna
what
look
you're-
at all your cost.
I see what
I'm
you're
not saying everybody is gonna do it that way, and there would be some cost sharing, but the landowner is gonna lose. The original landowner is gonna lose, because as a developer, you look at the cost, no developer ever went into a town and bought a piece of land and said, I'm gonna build. They come down and they see Cary, and they get every regulation that there is, they get, it's, you're not gonna go into it blind, and you're gonna know that cost up front, and that's gonna reflect what you offer for the property. So
Well, I
I'm just saying
appreciate
that I think that 5 lot subdivision, 3 lot was ridiculously small, so
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
commend you for going up to 5.
Well, we
5 is
appreciate
still a
your,
little
I
small.
appreciate your point of view, really.
Okay.
Does
All
put a
right.
different perspective.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? So, where we stand then, we're gonna keep the public hearing open because we still have the lighting still.
Okay.
But the rest of them can, unless there's any significant changes, and we can also make changes, but at next meeting, I think we can, if you wanna do a motion for each one.
So,
Unless there's, I don't think there's anything outstanding
Do
on
we
the
need to
Loop
talk
Road.
about this one
I
more?
think so,
The
yeah.
public
so,
hearing
I agree.
in the subdivision, this
We're
one.
talking about the cisterns.
Well, no, I'm saying this one here, we can still move forward with a motion and still make some changes to it.
We're talking about maybe having a discussion about this based on
Yeah, I
feedback
mean-
and stuff, and maybe now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought-
I'm on board, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I
Okay,
don't
good.
see
I think right
sense in
now, right?
drafting a motion and then
Yeah.
saying,
No,
oh,
no,
let's change it.
for next meeting, but I thought we were done on the conversation, okay.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, Mr. Rose brings up some points that I don't think we've looked into. Maybe if we want to appease the fire marshal and understand his point of view, maybe we should make it 10 lots.
Well, how if we ask Carrie to, if she can, at the next meeting, let us know how many available lots there are in the town? Can you come up with some kind of number like that?
Well, you mean acreage?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, and it would be looking at acreage in areas that don't have public water.
Correct. So why don't we do, let's take a look at that and see what we have.
Yeah,
And then
because
and then we can figure out, you know, what we have, and then maybe we can make a general assessment. Maybe we can start, you can look at the locations of some of those lots and see where they are as well. And then maybe we can make a more informed decision on that.
But we do know that when we're talking, we brought this up the last time, anything that is like over 50 housing,
Right.
they have to be on public water. So
Right.
that eliminates all those.
Right.
And those would be the ones that are close together.
Right. Yep. Ron, did you were about to say?
Yeah, it appears you've already decided on this, but I'll still make my point that, and Al reinforced what I said before. The chief said, we are not in jeopardy.
Right.
You know, we have tankers in every firehouse. We have portable ponds in every firehouse. You know, this is going to be an additional burden on anyone subdividing. And, you know, I forgot about the taxes. I had to pay the same thing on my father's lot. In that, you know, if the landowner wants to put a cistern on his property and deed it over to the town, we'll happily take it. But to put a requirement in that he has to do it, when in fact, we have apparatus, equipment, manpower, mutual aid. You know, if there's a fire, we can roll 3 tankers and then put a call into adjoining towns. That's what happened when the Northford store burnt down. There were fire trucks from all over the state down there. So personally, I don't think we need the cisterns when we have something in place that works. Now what we're doing is adding additional maintenance. You know, the fire department's gonna maintain it. The fire department's gonna add it to its budget. The budget goes to the town council. The town council jacks up the mill rate, and we pay for something we don't need. We need teachers, we need better roads, we need, you know, and we're putting out expenses for something we don't need.
Well, the maintenance on that.
But the key is,
There's no
it
dollar
should be
maintenance
the
on
choice
It would be
of the
dr- it
landowner
would
or
be
the developer
drills,
if they
too.
deem it necessary, because right now, it isn't deemed necessary.
What I
And that's
think-
my opinion.
What I think he's saying is that if a subdivision comes up and the fire marshal at that point can, not require, but he can certainly, you know,
Strongly suggest.
Yeah, suggest that, like he did with the other property, that they do put it in.
Well, yeah, so that one developer did, and the one developer that where it really was needed, said, no, you know, was not gonna consider it. And, I mean, that's the 3 subdivision on Tutucket, where it's on a tight road, it's difficult to get in and out, especially if there's an issue going on, and, you know, you gotta try to get tankers and things up the road. You have, I mean, it's barely enough to fit 1 car as it is. That's where it was needed. You know, Schwann's property, you know, I mean, it was, you know, the developer put it in, and that was, you know, but where on Tutucket, where
Yeah.
it should be, where it was, you know, to help protect those homeowners, especially in those 3 homes, they chose not to. And that's the place that needed it. I mean, that's,
We
if
looked at the
there's an issue
regulation,
there, right.
it wouldn't have gone in because it was only 3 homes.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Which I
mean,
think
we're-
is
yeah,
little.
right, but because we moved it up from 3 to 5, and 3
Right.
was because of that subdivision there. So I understand, Ron, I definitely understand your point as well.
I guess
Yeah.
also what I'm saying is the fact that, yes, he used Tutucket Road as an example.
Right.
The road isn't adequate.
Right.
Well, has anyone pursued that? Absolutely not.
We can't,
Now,
yeah, I mean,
The next,
let's-
wait a minute,
let's-
let
let's-
me
I know, but
finish
let's
up.
get into what we can-
I-
what we
I-
can-
I'm
we can
on my
handle.
soapbox here.
Yeah, well,
The recent fire near Jerome Harrison, the chief said he had problems getting his equipment in there because of parking on the road. Has anyone addressed that? Absolutely not. No one's contacted the police station, nobody's.
hydrants there, though.
Public
So that's
Works
not-
about the
that's not
Token
relevant.
Road.
That's a whole separate thing.
Right,
That is hydrants.
exactly.
We're talking about cisterns.
I think that we should go along with what Carrie suggested, that look into what properties we might be talking about.
Let's do that.
Well, I go back to like, can we get more data from the fire chief again?
Oh, he,
'Cause-
you meant, he provided a whole bunch.
Yeah, he-
Yeah.
Could we
yeah.
maybe
wants
review
them.
that again? Because there seems to be dissent about that, because we have a council member saying the fire chief spoke that there is enough mechanical power equipment
Right.
for it. We have conflicting data that said, he said now that it does need cisterns. I feel like, should we run through that again? Because, you know, I disagree with you saying a decision's already made, one, and I disagree with the use of personal thought, opinion thought, because we make decisions here based on data. So could we maybe
Mhm.
run through that again?
Yeah,
And
pull some of that out.
clarify the public, clarify ourselves, because personal decisions and opinion shouldn't be stated, shouldn't be playing a role in this. It should be, we're making decisions based on data.
Yeah, I
And right
mean,
now,
we
we
can-
have conflicting data.
Yeah, we can get some, we can get, review some of the data provided. I mean, one thing the fire chief said is that he, right now, I mean, they have the horsepower, and I'm gonna use that as encompassing. But if there is an event where they need to give more water, you know, in different locations, it's gonna take X amount of time to do it.
But maybe we
So
should go over
that's
the
where-
lots and
that's-
where,
yeah.
with
That's
him,
what-
where it
Well,
should
that's
be,
what I wanted-
but
that's-
in
yeah.
conjunction with him,
Oh,
not
yeah.
just, but in
Yeah.
conjunction with him to
We
see
can- we
what
can-
are the
we can-
numbers,
we
what
can
are the
take a look at
lots.
that, get the lots, and then have him, you know, also evaluate it as well.
We
So-
spoke.
All right.
No, I wasn't a part of this.
So, except for that one and the
Committee.
lighting, we can do, I think we can do a motion at the next.
Well, I think
meeting.
that-
I think things open.
I think that we should keep the amendments whole, so when when
Okay.
you make a motion to approve or deny, whatever your decisions are, it should be for all of the changes.
At once?
For the
Okay.
text amendment for the zoning regulations, and then a text amendment for the subdivision regulations. So it'll be
Okay.
2 motions, but we'll keep them all together.
And we'll keep the public hearing open. Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
And in the meantime, Carrie can come up with the number of available properties that we're talking
Yeah,
about
the
here.
acreage.
Right.
Yep.
And then also, just for the record, I have Bob Wiedemann's comments as exhibit 2,
Okay.
just so that's in the file.
All right, so we're moving on to new business. PZ application 2017-2, 435 Foxton Road.
Jim Preddy with Criscolo Engineering.
Jim, if you don't mind, can you put it over there in terms, so the public can see it, and then we can also get it on the camera? There you go. And you can take the,
Okay.
And what's your last name again? I'm sorry. Last name.
B-R-E-T-T-I.
oh, you can take that with you. If you wanna move that
That's
over.
okay. So-
Share that, please.
Sure.
This was the plan we brought for you last month for the historic conversion special exception approval to expand the existing building, which was approved at that meeting. And so now we're just here for the site plan approval. I had kind of covered the whole thing at the last meeting, but just to go over it again. That's an existing building that's been there for a couple hundred years. It was changed to an office use back in 2004. We're just continuing the office use, but the special exception was for the expansion. What we're adding is a 900 square foot garage and a 200 square foot breezeway to connect the two structures. Other improvements are we're removing the dilapidated shed in the back and the remains of an old foundation in the upper right corner of the lot. The green areas of pavement that are shaded in will be removed also to reduce some impervious surface. I have some on the, guess that's the east side, or on the left side of the plan, we had shown some white pines to be planted over there to kind of soften the building from that side. We changed those to arborvitaes. There was a comment about the pines not doing well after a number of years. Again, it wasn't really a requirement, we're just trying to soften that side. The only other addition, we have called out the existing site light that's mounted on the back of the building to be replaced with a full cutoff fixture. And right behind where the new garages, we're showing a very small dumpster enclosure. They only need the smallest dumpster you get, I believe, is 6 by 6. So we're gonna build a fenced enclosure.
Where are you putting the
It's
dumpster?
actually right here, and I show it this way because in this location here, this vegetation line is really kind of just some overhanging branches and some weeds. So it was really just trimming some branches to put that there. You actually taking trees out. And even in here, it's funny, this cluster of vegetation here, there's high stuff here, and it actually, where the garage is going is actually low right now. It's more shrubs than trees, so. So even in that case, we're not really removing much. We are also providing a filtration swale for 2 inches of rain over the new roof area. Again, we're reducing the impervious surface ratio, so that wasn't really required, but an effort to try to control the runoff.
You're gonna put that in tonight, right?
We're a little late for tomorrow.
Can I ask about this old foundation? What is that exactly?
There's, it's dirt on the inside and the outside. There's some old foundation walls that are still there. So actually, we're supposed to be taken out there in 2004, when that plan was approved, and it was never done.
So it's not a hole?
No,
It's all
no.
filled in?
Yeah.
It's just
It's just the walls are kind of sticking up a little bit. It's just,
is there a reason why it's remaining?
they just never bothered to deal with it.
They're gonna remove it.
Who's gonna remove it?
Here, there,
They're gonna remove it. It
Oh,
remains.
it says remains.
with the arrow.
It's the remains of an
Oh,
old
you're gonna.
foundation.
Yeah, they're gonna-
Sorry, I didn't
remove
read
it.
on the side, I just saw remains.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're gonna
And I was
get rid of it.
thinking, remains means it's staying.
Staying, yeah.
Just cleaning up the site, that's all.
Yeah, okay. It's before I put my glasses on.
Yeah, it's okay.
Are there any restrictions on the Algonquin gas pipeline?
Yeah, you can't put any structures within the easement
But you can build up to the easement?
up to it.
Okay.
And I had received referrals from the various departments during the special use process. So the town engineer looked at it, everything was fine, East Shore Health, building official and fire marshal, just both of the last two just cited that all necessary codes be complied with.
Anything else?
We've seen elevations, right?
Yes, I have them here.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at those again?
Yeah, I think it looked pretty nice, right? It kept them in a nice historic character.
Yeah, Silver Petroselli and Associates did some plans, and they're matching the existing siding and window type and that sort of thing.
Give it a nice. It's nice.
Oh, that's the. Meeting.
Mhm.
Does anybody have anything else?
Here.
Ron? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay.
2 meetings ago.
You good? I'm just gonna put it back.
No, I'm not wearing it.
Oh, okay.
We good? I just have to do standard
Yep.
We good to go?
Yep.
I move to approve application 2017-2, site development plan under section 23, Schedule A, line C2, for a proposed two-story garage addition to be connected to the existing building via a breezeway to be used for storage relating to business and professional office use at 435 Foxen Road, North Branford. Assessors map 23, lot 69, zone R40. Owner J. Castle and Daughters, LLC. Applicant John Castellavitro, as shown on plans. Property located at number 435 Foxen Road, North Branford, Connecticut. Prepared for J. Castles and Daughters 1, LLC. Proposed site plan prepared by Criscola Engineering, LLC, February 16, 2017. Revised April 24th, 2017. Pursuant to Section 23, permitted uses, Schedule A, line C2 of the zoning regulations, the commission finds that the proposed application for site plan complies with all applicable requirements of the Town of North Branford zoning regulations and is approved subject to the following conditions. Following standard conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, and special use conditions 12 and 13. I'll read the special use conditions. With the following special conditions: 12, adherence to the conditions established under the approved special use permit 2017-1. Number 13, a sign permit will be required when the sign is replaced with the new business information.
Second?
Second it.
Any discussion? Voting on that would be Brian, Fran, Bill, myself, because Trish wasn't at the special.
No,
use
but
meeting.
this is, I don't think it matters.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So,
yeah, she's gonna abstain.
oh,
Yeah, because a lot of it was, there was a lot of discussion. And that's okay.
I'm just gonna grab your motion.
Okay. So no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? See none? Any
Abstain.
Abstain.
One abstain.
Okay. Moving along. Okay, next, new business, PZ application 2012-13-13.
So I received a letter that I believe is in your packet from Bob Wiedemann dated April 17th. It says, "Dear Carrie, as you are aware, the original subdivision plan called for sidewalks throughout the neighborhood. The land trust requested and was granted a waiver of the sidewalks adjoining the open space. Now, therefore, sidewalks are only proposed on the inside of the loop road within the neighborhood. With the limited traffic and lack of sidewalks extending to Middletown Avenue, it seems unnecessary to provide the remaining sidewalks as currently proposed. 2 homes have currently been built on the inner loop, and each of the buyers would prefer that the sidewalk requirement be removed. Please let me know when this matter will appear on the planning and zoning agenda and whether I need to be in attendance here. Anticipate cooperation is appreciated. Sincerely, Bob Wiedemann." So included in your packet, I believe, is a copy of that letter, as well as a letter from the homeowners at Lot 34, 11 Farmington Drive, saying that they are in support of the request to waive the sidewalk requirement on the inner loop at Bridgewater Estates. They said, "We would prefer not to have sidewalks on our property." Enwer and Maria Creho. And I believe there was a second letter from Christy Mary. "As the homeowner at Lot 25, 33 Farmington Drive in Northford, I am in support of Sunwood Development's request to waive the sidewalks. I would prefer not to have sidewalks on my property." And I also received referrals from the police department dated April 25th. It says, from Lieutenant Lovelace, "I have reviewed the accompanying documents regarding Shantz Farm subdivision waiver of sidewalks. I feel that if the sidewalks were waived, there are no objections by the department." And a referral from the town engineer, Kurt Weiss, who stated, "I do not see any issues with the elimination of the sidewalk within the circular road as requested. The walks do not lead to any destination. They also pose a long-term cost consideration if they need to be replaced or repaired by the town in the future. This is a low-volume road with only approximately 24 homes located on it, Kurt Weiss. And Fran Marola, the Director of Public Works, also agreed that it would be a cost for the homeowners and potentially the town down the road when they need to be replaced. So just as a reminder, I do have this in your packet. Pass out a map just showing where these sidewalks are proposed, or where they were originally approved. So if you look at the green, I have another one here. It's this inner loop. So the portion that Bob Wiedemann referenced that had been eliminated, you'll remember going from Farmington Drive before the bridge, heading up to Middletown Avenue. That portion, the commission agreed to waive that requirement because the land trust wanted to take the open space, but they didn't want to have it because of the sidewalks, because of the liability associated with it. And one of the main reasons for having the sidewalks originally was to get kids up to a bus stop up at Middletown Avenue. Once that requirement for having the sidewalks was waived, again, so that the land trust could have the open space, the remaining portion is just on that inside loop road. So, right now, the requirement is just to have the sidewalks on the inside loop road.
As I recall, this is going back, what, about 5 years ago?
The original approval?
Yeah.
Yep,
There were sidewalks on both sides of the loop.
yes.
So we compromised with the developer to just do the inside loop. So just want to say that we had them on both sides of the road, they were on both sides originally, as I recall.
This side and this side originally. This is what it was. I
So-
don't remember that, but I don't.
Yeah, because, well, no, they were
The
required.
original
keep the
approval
sidewalks.
No,
had
not
the
the-
waiver of the sidewalks on the outside.
Right, right, so.
Why do we?
Isn't it,
What's that, go ahead.
Why do we waive the requirement on the outside but not the inside? Do we?
I don't know, I mean, don't recall that.
I guess my question would be, we compromised by eliminating some of the sidewalks for them. Now we're going to compromise again and get rid of all the sidewalks. Then why did we even put sidewalks in to begin with? What was our logic to do that?
Well, it's part of the regulation. We do have the ability to take a look at that and the idea of waiving the outside, and I can't recall the exact, but maybe because it was redundant, because it was.
Right, it would be on both sides of the street.
On both sides, was it, and because it was a loop, so for people to walk, they would have at least one set of sidewalks, so we went with the inside, one. I'm just kinda trying to rehash in my memory
Is
what it
the
was.
street smaller than a typical street?
No,
Well,
On the inside loop, is it
oh, no, it's.
skinnier or is it?
no.
Oh, no, I
No,
think
it's-
it was
it's-
just because it was
it's standard.
continuous, so if people
Roadway.
wanted to walk, they wouldn't, so the outside loop, it would kind of end. So the inside loop was just continuous, so we wanted to have, at least if somebody wanted to use the sidewalk, I mean, if there's a lot of snow on the road, if there's whatever it might be, they wanted to, use the sidewalk, it's there. I don't remember all the particulars, but we did compromise on the outside.
But the
And-
town has accepted the road, so it's to this town standard for road width, so it's not any more narrow or anything on that loop portion as opposed
Okay.
to the drive-in.
why is it the town's responsibility to maintain these sidewalks? Isn't it the homeowner
Right, it will be the
Maintain.
homeowner, but if they
to
have to be
plow it, I mean, to
replaced,
snow it, and
shovel,
Right.
yeah.
shovel it, and if it cracks, repair it?
Right, if they have to be replaced though,
Then-
Fran thought that the town would be contacted to help assist at some
Well,
level.
When you say replaced, what do you
Over
mean,
time.
whole thing?
Or any part of it.
If something
Yeah.
gets cracked,
Cross
Well,
paving.
again, if it's the homeowner's responsibility, the sidewalk, and supposing there's a
I think
big,
what Fran meant by homeowners responsible for maintaining is the snow shoveling and things like that.
but I think
The
maintaining.
repair
Well,
is
most
tough,
places, if you,
right?
you are responsible for this, in most towns, you are responsible for that sidewalk. If it has a big hole in it for some reason,
So,
it's not the town. Most places, it's the
Same.
homeowner.
I would think it would be the town. I think like at Durrell Farms, if there's a sidewalk that needs to be replaced, it would fall on the town.
It's pretty like you already see.
No, I
this
agree
in-
with you, Fran. I agree with Fran. If the sidewalk's there, it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain it. And if it's cracked, it needs to be maintained, and if it's a liability, then they have to cut that piece
This
out
comes up a
and
lot,
replace it.
yeah. It comes up a lot in like, city of New Haven.
Right.
It's the sidewalk, and the city has an ordinance, if you don't maintain the snow in the winter, they can fine you, but it's, the city owns the sidewalk. You have to maintain it. I think it's probably similar to that. I think that's what Carrie's saying.
I seem to recall relatives having to put their own sidewalk repairs in.
I don't know.
Well, either way, what's in front of us right now is so some of the comments that were made, I understand the responsibility, or some of it might be on the town, but that isn't the reason that we took the outer loop out. We left it in for a reason, and again, it was 5 years ago. There were some elevation changes on the back side of that loop. I mean, it's in the regulation, we did compromise. I mean, if
So why would we keep it right now, besides just because we already compromised once? Because you use the flip side saying we compromised once, so why can't we
well, if somebody wants to
compromise
use
again?
it, they can use the sidewalk instead of being in the road.
And it would be
And
for,
public safety, I mean, if you wanted to walk or whatever, and you wanted to be on the sidewalk instead of the road.
Okay.
Now,
Kids
it
wanna
is a
roller skate.
loop, but there is some elevation changes in it, especially on the southwest side maybe, coming around, there's some elevation changes. But if somebody wants to use a sidewalk versus walking in the road, there's, I mean, some public safety, there's not a lot of, there's not through traffic, so it's just a
Not a lot of
loop.
traffic.
But there is that public safety aspect that's there.
I'm just struggling with it, cause
Yeah.
I don't encounter many sidewalks where I live, and, my road's busy, I grew up playing in the street, I wouldn't let my kids do it now, cause life is different, but mine's busier. I just, when I think about the homeowner and, maintaining the sidewalk, if someone falls on their sidewalk while they're walking in snow, that homeowner can be sued, like, you have two homeowners in favor, I'm just struggling, like, I don't know.
But if there's no sidewalk, then you're in the road. I mean, I'm just saying that, I get where maybe it's not as a high traffic, but, I mean, if that's the case, then eliminate sidewalks altogether. I mean, cause there are, like Durrell, if you ask those homeowners on Durrell if they wanted sidewalks, I mean, I would say, they would say no, because you gotta maintain them. And, and how many people are gonna, how many people are gonna walk up through and use them? But people do use them, and they're there for a couple different reasons. I mean, as long as the regulation has it in there, there's a reason for it. We do have, as we did on the outer, we did have an opportunity to, make adjustments and to eliminate it. And we could do the same thing with curbs as well in the subdivision, curbs and sidewalks.
The one thing with Durrell Farm is that there's, the school's
Yeah,
there,
no, I
so
understand that.
there's a destination. And once the outer portion of this had been eliminated for the land trust, which makes sense, this just goes in a circle. So
Right.
they're not leading people anywhere.
When you
They're not
say,
connecting
when
to
you say
it.
outer, you mean, I think that once we lost the
Yes, that's
part
what I
that
mean.
goes to
To
Middletown
Middletown.
Avenue, we lost the great benefit of the sidewalk.
Of the outer, yeah.
Right.
I'm sure.
So that's, I thought this was, yeah. There was an outer loop here
Right.
too, right?
Mhm.
Right. But we eliminated the outer loop at the site plan, when we approved the site plan.
No, I
We didn't
understand.
eliminate
No,
that when we did the continuation. We said we'll have the inner loop across the street, or I don't know if you, well, yeah, you'd have to cross the street and then take it down to 17.
Yeah.
So the one thing was eliminating going to 17 because it was a land trust.
Right, that's what I'm saying, I think when we lost that, we lost.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's,
Sidewalk.
Yeah, like what's the purpose
it's a
of it?
it's a regulation that we have. and
we have an option.
I know we have options, and we can go either way on this, you know. Kids waiting for the school bus in the winter. You know, they'll be standing on the sidewalk as opposed to in the road. You know, people walking, it's, you know, as opposed to people walking in the street. Yes, it's an internal loop, but still, you know, there's some there's some, there's some.
I guess it will.
Yeah, so, because it's a loop.
Well, I think
They won't go down a school.
I think the high school bus probably won't. I think the younger.
The mile stipulation, the kids can walk a mile to the bus stop.
I know, my kids do.
So I don't know where the age is. I don't know where the age is, but I think it's like elementary, they pick up right in front of the house or close to it.
Yeah.
And I think when you get to the
Older,
older
you
grades,
walk more.
yeah, you have less stops, but either case.
You know, personally, I think the sidewalk is a good idea, and if we take it out, I mean, it was previously approved to have the sidewalk in there, and if we pull it out now, then every subdivision is going to use this as precedent. You know, because it's a regulation and, you know, you choose to do it or you choose to not do it. So I'm up in the air on this, I'm not sure.
I agree, I'm struggling with it as well, because, again, all where I am, there are no sidewalks, kids wait in the street, they wait in the cars with their parents. I could see the outer loop if it's more of a question, you have to get to a destination safely, but if just the inner loop, you know, people walk up and down in my street, you get the kids riding the dirt bikes in the street, I'm struggling with, I could see if it was on the outer loop, but I'm struggling with why keep it on the inner loop. I don't know if we can go back to meeting minutes, or if we can pull in more
No,
data.
it wouldn't be, at this point, I mean, it doesn't matter to, in the past, I mean, we have it in front of us, so, I mean, going back. I mean, we eliminated the outer because there was no reason for two. And that's so on both sides of the street, that was, you know.
And like, I don't like pulling from personal experience to make decisions on this board, just so that's why I'm struggling with it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So I absolutely comprehend the safety.
sure.
If possible, can I make a couple
Yeah.
comments?
Mhm.
That's okay?
Yeah.
I might as well just give you a little bit of background, again, for the record, Bob Weedman Jr. from Sunwood Development. Originally, when we had the subdivision approved, we did ask for the waiver on the exterior of the loop road, so there to be sidewalks on one side. And I think that was in consultation with Kurt, in that there are very few subdivisions with sidewalks, other than Doral Farms, I think is probably the most prominent one. Higher density type development, closer houses, shorter lot frontages between the houses. So he felt it made sense to have just a single sidewalk. So that's why we showed it on the inside of the loop, and then from the inside of the loop, crossing the street and then running out to Middletown Avenue. At the time, we couldn't get an answer from the Department of Education whether or not they were gonna pick up school kids at the intersection of Middletown Avenue, or if they drive into Loop Road. Now we found out from them that they don't want to stop on Middletown Avenue because there's such high volume of traffic, especially in the morning, that it's probably less safe for the bus to stop there and have kids hanging out at that intersection than to actually drive into the subdivision. So, and that sort of came up as part of the conversation with the land trust, and the land trust didn't want not only the liability, but they were going to be responsible as the abutting property owner to the sidewalk to clear it of snow, and obviously they don't have manpower, they'd have to pay someone to go out and plow the snow off the sidewalk. So that's why the request was made by the land trust to waive the sidewalks along that area of the property. So that's how we sort of got to this place where we are with just the interior loop road. Kurt actually raised the issue again recently and said, why are you planning to do the sidewalks around here? They don't really lead anywhere. And as you said, he realizes that the town's gonna have the responsibility of maintaining them long-term. The property owners abutting the sidewalks are responsible for clearing snow only, so there's no no responsibility if they crack, they settle, they break, whatever else happens. That is the town's responsibility. So they'd be responsible. So Kurt's looking at it from a long-term cost standpoint for the town. Our homeowners actually kind of prefer not to have it because as opposed to Doral Farm, where you might have 100 feet of frontage and 100 feet of sidewalk, we have some lots on this, especially on some of the curves, that might have 300 to 400 feet of sidewalk that they have to clear. So it's probably gonna take them longer to clear their sidewalk than do their driveway. So I think that's why and we only have 2 homeowners at this point on the inner loop. And we asked them what their thought was. We said, I don't wanna come in here if you prefer to have sidewalks. And they said, no, quite honestly, we don't feel it's necessary. So we said, well, we'll make the request. I don't have a strong preference one way or the other. I want you to be comfortable with it. But that's just some of the background of how we got here. It wasn't just, we don't want to do them. I mean, we're perfectly capable of doing them. You know, it's designed for it. It's not a big issue to do them. But we just didn't know if it was necessary, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
The bus is gonna go around the deep, so what's needed.
I guess the question is, and we have sidewalks in different places, you know, is it the town's responsibility to maintain the concrete?
Yes.
Where's it written?
Let's not, responsibility, unless it's a cost factor on this, I mean, look, it's just eliminating or not. I mean, if we gotta get into cost and get clarification, we will. I mean.
Okay, Carrie, can you find this out for me offline?
All right, then what we'll do is we'll table this to the next meeting. All right.
No, we can move forward. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
a good.
That's one of the things we're gonna do. If we have unless you have any other questions, if there's anything outside, we'll get that information and move on. I mean, we've had a pretty good discussion on it. So what's outstanding now is who's responsible for the cost. So we'll get that and we can discuss it at the next meeting and anything else that comes up in the meantime.
I know that we made the compromise, but
Right.
there's all these areas that there is no sidewalks, you know, right? And here, and here, and here. There is no continuation, so you just got pieces of sidewalks.
This is,
That's
not
not,
sidewalks.
that's just,
It's
that's,
the green part.
Oh, I thought they said it was green, was where they were talking about.
that's blue.
This is the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Oh, that, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep. All right, so we'll get that.
Just
This
a quick
was the
question.
outer, see
What
this?
you mentioned that if
The
the,
outer
Yeah,
sidewalk.
I got you,
That's
I
the inner.
got you.
So the outer's gone, this is gone too.
I thought they were talking about this,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
trying
no,
to
no.
figure
Yeah,
out
yeah, no. I-
what these sidewalks are for.
Oh, conservation.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
you mentioned that if the bus is going down, sidewalks are or are not needed.
Well, I mean, if there's gonna be kids getting the bus, and they have to
Picked up
walk.
at your house.
Yeah, you know.
You get
so-
picked out the front door, probably.
well, in front of the driveway.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting in
Each-
snow, I mean.
Each driveway?
I'm not sure, but
No.
it could be like two neighbors together, going to one, you know, meet in one driveway or whatever it might be.
I mean, I believe for safety reasons
Okay.
it should remain, but
Well, we'll table this, and we'll have it, we'll discuss it next meeting.
Sorry.
All right, moving right on, and Carrie, it's your time. Town planners report.
So under A, application receipt and scheduling, I wanted to talk about 2 applications that I received this week. The first is for an amendment, well, not, sorry, let me do the, Rose's Orchard, 33 Branford Road. There was a special use that was granted, I believe in 2002, for serving ice cream there. And they have a new application to have a grill, so they'd like to expand what they're doing there. So it'd be becoming more of a restaurant. So I'm just gonna pass this out. It's not for necessarily your review tonight, but just if you have any questions, the roses are here. Because a special use was already granted for this property, I wanted to just run this by you. So the special use again was for service of ice cream, and there's also seating that was permitted that currently exists. What they'd like to do is add on to the building, which you can see in the red, which is outlined, and add a grill as well as additional seating. and possibly retail space.
Where are they gonna add to? Just someplace in the
This,
back.
so this is where it's outlined and it's white in the middle.
Okay.
It says proposed addition.
Oh, okay.
And then the other square says future pavilion.
Oh, okay.
So, in the regulations, it talks about any changes to a special use, would require a special use application, which is why I've asked them to submit a new application. Even though, you know, it falls under a restaurant use, but it's different from, you know, serving ice cream. I don't know if any of you were on the commission when they got their approval for serving ice cream. But by having now a, you know, a full approval or review, I should say, under a restaurant use, then they can expand, they could have table service, you know, down the road, and they wouldn't have to come back to this commission. So I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts about that. The other addition that would be included is, the inclusion of bathrooms would be added.
Yeah, right.
So with this application, you would be accepting it tonight and then scheduling the public hearing for June 1st. So there would be notice and everything. I don't know if you have any questions.
So obviously the
See,
health department regs kick in, like restrooms and obviously all the restaurant
Say that again?
departments. Like the health department
Yep.
regulations.
Yep,
From
so
the
the
restaurant
various
side
boards
kick
would
in and
be
everything, yeah.
reviewing this, so East Shore Health, there, you know, would be, it sounds like a
Restrooms
different
and-
license that would be required. I'm not sure which one they're jumping to, but, you know, the grill that they've talked about is for, you know, things like sandwiches, grilled cheese.
Mhm.
You know, it didn't sound like there was a fryer or anything that was proposed, I think. And
Okay.
obviously East Shore Health would do their review
Yep.
of all
Is
of
the
that.
pavilion gonna be part of the application, or is that, I mean, for future means future?
I think the pavilion is part of this application.
Yeah.
Okay.
everything part of it.
Alright, perfect.
Take this back.
So we'll schedule, accept the application tonight and then schedule the public hearing for June 1st for that application. Okay.
Maybe not.
And then the next,
I can't figure this out.
actually,
Don't
you guys
ask
can.
me. Sounds good.
I give up. Whatever.
I'm
The
sure that's
next-
correct, it's wrong.
The next application that I received is for
Correct.
a proposed,
What the heck is that?
this is for a proposed amendment to the zoning regulations to allow for a winery within the industrial zone. So right now, the zoning regulations only allow for wineries in residential zones. So this change, was talked with, you know, brought up to the commission for discussion purposes only to allow for wineries in industrial and business zones. So again, we have the application and the proposal is to set the public hearing for June 1st. Any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so that's what I have for application receipt and scheduling. And then for zoning regulations, in your packet, this is zoning regulations regarding apartments in the business zone. In your packets, you should have something from, a letter from Jim Preddy talking about a discrepancy that he discovered. So the property owner, John Casalditro, who has land on Foxton Road, it's 2290 Foxton Road. He currently uses the building for office and on the second floor and a hair salon on the first floor. He'd like to convert the second floor space to 2 one-bedroom apartments. What he noticed is that the parcel lies in the B2 zoning district, and on the chart, on this chart, it has the minimum lot area per multiple dwelling unit is 10,000 square feet. But actually in the text of the regulation, under special standards, which is the special use permit, under 42.5.1D, it says lots in the B2 and B3 B3 districts shall contain not less than 20,000 square feet. So he asked, please review and let me know how the commission will view this conflict.
If we have a town attorney that will gladly weigh in and not bring that to us. I would say, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna, I mean, would you agree that we need the attorney to weigh in and see which one is
Yeah,
the one we
'cause-
should go with, so then, yeah.
Is there a history of when changes
Oh.
were made where, or no, we kinda don't have
Yes.
that solid of a history?
Well, there is a little bit. So you'll notice in the text of the zoning regulations, next to 42.5.1, there's an asterisk and a cross. The cross is effective 7/17/14. What happened that year was that they just added the B1, B2, B3 districts to
Right.
allow for the multiple dwellings there.
For 20,000, is that how we're
Well, no, I mean, that
interpreting,
was,
or we're waiting
no,
for
that
the
was,
attorney?
that could have been the initial regulation from 93. The only thing we changed in 14 was, I think we added a couple of the,
Added the
Business,
business.
the business,
The
yeah.
yeah, I remember that.
yeah.
Oh, added the B1, that's what you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
You just added the B1.
So that could have been there since 93, though.
Yeah.
So I think the B2 requirement, B2 and B3 districts shall contain not less than 20,000 square feet, had been there since 93.
Yes, can we have the, would you agree that town attorney should take a look at this and
I agree,
make
because
a
is it
call?
a clerical
Yeah.
error, is it a bigger deal? I'm at a loss.
I see the
Does- I
regulation.
guess-
reading,
What do you think? Is it something
I think-
the attorney needs to, or
Like
is
they
it
changed it in
something
one
we,
spot, that they forgot
we
another spot?
say this is what we think and this is what we should do?
Well, I think that the, somewhere, there was an error, I think,
I mean,
it just conflicts. I guess my reason for agreeing with Jim Preddy to bring it to the commission was I'd like to look at this anyway, because if we want to allow for housing in the business zone on the second floor, I don't think that all of these restrictions make sense. So, for example, that 20,000 square feet, requiring 20,000 square feet for each dwelling unit, I don't know if that is the right number, especially when the lot requirement is 10,000 square feet. So you need 20,000, you can have a lot,
Yeah.
at 10, but you need 20 for a dwelling unit on the
Dwelling
second
unit.
floor.
it should be like probably 200. But I mean,
Right,
but I
well,
mean-
and that's where, from a
Yeah.
planning perspective, in a business zone, you could have denser development.
Mhm.
Not, you don't want it too dense, but you could have it to be, have it be more dense. Hence the lot size. Instead of a 40,000 square foot lot, you can have a 10,000 square foot lot.
So is this going down the road of, getting more input, more data, and a text amendment?
That's what I
Well,
would,
there's two things. One, Carrie's saying that we should take a
We
look
have
at
to-
and change this period.
Okay.
But the other thing is, I
Is
think
this
the lawyer,
application?
in case, if something comes in.
yeah, we can have the town attorney look
We'll have
at
the
it.
town attorney look in case something comes in the meantime, we know which one we
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
going with. I mean, if I had a choice, I would go with the text, not the chart. But, the attorney should
What are we
Right,
asking the
yeah.
lawyer to do, though?
tell us which one we should be going by in case something comes up in the meantime. Like if something came in the next couple meetings and we don't have a text amendment,
This has
make
been
some
out here
changes. We
for,
would
this
wanna
has been
make-
out here since 2014.
What's that?
Mhm.
This has been here for 2014.
Or even longer,
No,
actually.
no, 93.
Conflict would be longer.
Right,
Could
but I'm
be
saying,
updated.
what's the urgency of getting a town attorney to tell us in
I'm
case
assuming this
something comes in?
application, this
no,
is
How about
coming?
if something comes in, we can get clarity if we needed it?
This is coming.
No, let's
Right,
just-
so that
I mean, we know it
application,
now.
that's what, so
This
the
application's
letter
coming.
from
Oh,
Jim
okay,
Preddy,
sorry.
because they wanted
Because
that.
he wants to. Yeah, I'm
Right.
sorry, yeah, of course. Okay, I understand.
But it is something that I think that the commission should look at, especially when we have, the town's parcel of 1599 Foxton Road, which I don't know what the town council's going to decide to do with that. But if they look at selling it and look at mixed use as a possibility, that's in a B2 zone, B2 or 3 zone. And I think we should just think about what we'd like to see there and think about the
Yeah,
zoning
the
regulations
future.
around that. And the square footage requirement for the dwelling units, and then C, which is no more than 5 dwelling units allowed in each building, and also shall be restricted to 1 bedroom. I think we should look at all of that to see
Right.
if
Didn't
that makes
we,
sense.
I can think of a few places within town where there are businesses with apartments on the 2nd floor. The Nordford store,
Mhm.
Aquatic pool.
aquatic pool. Now, did we put a restriction on the size of the units?
I don't know. I believe for the Northford store you did. I'm not sure
Yeah,
about
we
aquatic
did.
pool.
Aquatic pool was a.
Oh, that's office space. I don't
It
know
was
if they-
a
I don't wanna
converted
say
office
this
space.
apartments or not.
So I'll look at, I
Mm.
believe that you did for the Northford store.
We
But
did.
I'll look at
What's that?
the
We had
parcel
some
size
restrictions
for
for the
that.
Northwood store, the number of units.
Yeah, I think they were 1 bedroom,
One bedroom, but then they had an office, so in a sense that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think aquatic pool is the same thing.
Oh, and that's B2. So that, well,
Yeah, that was.
that may be, it may be a moot point, because if that parcel is 20,000 square feet, then you wouldn't have to worry about this conflict.
no.
The challenge with John Castelvitro's parcel is that it's 10,000 square feet, or
Right.
it's under the 20,000, so he can't meet it. But I'll look into that, that's a good idea, to see how many units there are, and there should be at least 20,000 square feet for each dwelling unit.
And how many square feet is his property?
John Castelvitro?
Mhm.
I think it's like 16 or 17,000 square feet or
Okay.
something like
All
that.
right. Okey dokey. Moving along, Carrie.
Language for an ordinance regarding 830G affordable housing applications. So, I've done some research, I haven't gotten too far, but I'm gonna pass this down. So this is our current regulation. There you go.
And which one's this? What's this?
This, the second one that I'm passing out is what the town of Westport has.
It's 500 units.
Did you get enough?
I got it.
Here. So what you have with this, 62.11, where it says fee, the only thing that we talk about with fees in our zoning regulations is the fees associated with our applications. Where this all came about, you'll remember, is that Trish and I attended this seminar at Wesleyan in March where it talked about affordable housing, and there was one attorney who suggested that towns pass some kind of an ordinance or regulation allowing the commission to have the
He
applicant
was
of 830G.
pretty emphatic in his suggestion, and then followed it up with the Connecticut General Statute supports it, and then concluded with, you should have this in your regs.
So when I emailed him to say,
Oh, you did?
I did, to say, oh, great idea, we're following up on your suggestion. Can you send me some examples? He sent me one. So that's okay. He sent me Westport's, which you have, and this is actually their ordinance. It's not in their zoning regulation. Of course, I would want our town attorney to look at this, but my question to him was, this ordinance only speaks to subdivisions, re-subdivisions, and then wetland regulations. But I'm wondering about if someone came in with an 830G application that's a site plan, and is not a subdivision. So it's like a cluster, tower, I don't know, something else that's not a subdivision. Where do we put it? Can we just, put it in our regulations? So I think where it would fit, if I draft something, it's under this fee section of 62.11.
Again, I do think we need something, because again, when an application like that comes in, the burden is on us to analyze it. It's not on the applicant to give us all of the data. The burden shifts to us to analyze the data and have an informed process.
And our subdivision regulations do say that we can require a traffic study, so we have that in there already. I'm just not sure, you know, we can look further to find out where we would wanna put something in about doing additional septic tests or environmental tests under subdivision. Bless you.
Yeah, I would say we wanna make sure the wording's correct, because we have
Yes.
a referral process.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have, you know, fire chief, East Shore, all the, so we wanna
Right.
make sure that this is when this should be enacted, because I don't want, the last thing we want is something that could be put in here is just to hold something up. You know, I mean, it needs, we need to, when do we enact this? Is when, you know, we really have
Oh,
to
yes,
spell, I mean,
see.
that's.
Well, right at the beginning, I think.
Well,
You know,
no, I
'cause
mean,
like this.
no, the criteria to enact it. What I'm saying is that
Oh.
it's saying here is,
Oh,
you know,
I see.
are needed to, whether one or more outside consultants are needed to analyze, review, and report on such areas requiring technical review in order to assist the commission. Well, what I'm saying is that on a technical review, right now Kurt does it, if, you know, we need to make sure that we have.
It's specific to affordable housing applications.
No, but I mean,
Correct.
if Kurt deems it necessary, then we would deem it necessary. If
Right.
the fire chief, if, you know, I mean, we'd have to put something in there that would say that if the,
Authority having jurisdiction.
if our internal reviews cannot come up
Oh, I
to
got you.
adequate referral, then this consulting thing would kick in. Cause we don't, you know, somebody comes in for, I'm just gonna say, a subdivision with three houses, or, you know, 3 lots, and all of a sudden we're gonna kick in, you know, we need consultants to do this. I wanna make sure that anybody coming in
I thought it
knows.
was it my understanding, I thought it was just for affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
It's not for anything, it's just for affordable housing.
Well, that's what they recommended in their
Well,
thing,
Yeah.
right?
we're saying, let's maybe
But we could,
encompass other things too.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
what you're saying.
That's
I
what
see,
Carrie
my
was
bad. I
saying.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, so, but I wanna make sure that when it kicks in.
I got you.
So we could say it kicks in if anything for affordable housing.
Yeah, we wanna be,
Or if a, or if a
Careful with it.
referral, if we can't come to a
And I
consensus
think-
or something on a referral, or
I
whatever
think
it
that's
might
another
be.
question for the
Oh,
attorney
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Right.
For
Yeah.
our town attorney is,
we don't wanna make it a
what's the
blanket.
benefit of having it be in our regulations versus an ordinance?
I got ya.
Because if it's a 830G application, do they even look at the regulations? Everything that I've heard, you know, it's a zoning,
bypass
the
them.
zoning goes out the window.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
correct.
So what would,
Oh, I
what
got
do
ya.
they look at? What is triggered?
That's a
Right.
good point.
So I can ask him all that.
Oh, and-
But I would just, the only suggestion I would make is I will act on this and, you know, move as quickly as possible, but we have so many text amendments right now, I just wanna
This can kinda go on the back burner.
balance everything out, so that we don't have
Yeah.
the one that we're looking at right now and this one.
Yeah, this could go on the
No?
back burner a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Well,
This,
no, we-
there's no urgency on this
Right.
one. I mean,
Correct.
The only thing I would suggest is maybe if we start to move on it, we can open public hearings and table them.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
at least they're on the
Yeah.
agenda, so
Of
we don't
course.
lose sight, because that's one thing that we've
No, I
done in
know.
the past, is, you know, we're gonna make a change this, we get sidetracked with
Right.
a long thing, and then we don't go back to it, but that's the only thing I'm saying, is because if we're doing if we're enacting, we have all the time in the world, we can take our time on it, but at least it's on the agenda.
Right.
So, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
Anything else?
That was everything I
Fran,
had.
your time.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, gee,